celebrate the giftedness of this faith, we must keep sharing it as a gift.
In a move that has left Vatican insiders reeling and religious scholars scrambling for answers, Pope Francis has just revealed a shocking truth about Cardinal Luis Tagle, one that could shake the very foundation of the Catholic Church. For years, whispers of Tagle being the Pope's chosen one floated through the halls of the Vatican, but no one expected this. Behind closed doors, a secret plan was unfolding. And now, with the Pope's stunning announcement, Tagle's hidden role in a global shift of religious power is finally coming to light. Why now? What does this mean for the Vatican's influence across continents? And is Cardinal Tagle being groomed for something far more monumental than anyone ever imagined? Stay tuned, because what Pope Francis just revealed will send shockwaves through every corner of the Catholic world. Main body. The relationship between Pope Francis and Cardinal Luis Tagle extends far beyond formalities. It is built on a foundation of mutual respect, shared ideologies, and a relentless pursuit of an inclusive and modernized Catholic Church. Both leaders are known for their humility, compassion, and unwavering commitment to the poor and marginalized. From the very beginning of his papacy, Pope Francis has emphasized a church that serves the downtrodden. Cardinal Tagle, in his years as the Archbishop of Manila, exemplified these values by personally engaging with the underprivileged and advocating for social justice. His actions were not just symbolic, they resonated deeply with the people, proving that the Church could be a true force of change. Tagle's humility, approachability, and deep empathy for the struggles of ordinary people mirror Pope Francis's own philosophy. Their connection was not just political, but personal, bonded by a vision of a church that transcends dogma and embraces humanity. This alignment of values set the stage for a remarkable shift in the Vatican's direction. The rise of Tagle. In 2019, Pope Francis appointed Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle as the prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples, a position commonly referred to as the Red Pope. This title carries immense authority, overseeing missionary activities across continents and playing a pivotal role in shaping the future of global Catholicism. Tagle's appointment was not just a routine promotion, it was a calculated move. Pope Francis recognized the potential of a leader like Tagle, particularly in regions where Catholicism is experiencing rapid growth: Asia, Africa, and Latin America. These continents are expected to shape the next chapter of the Church's expansion, and Tagle, with his deep understanding of these cultures, was seen as the perfect leader to guide this evolution. This was a defining moment, signaling that Pope Francis was strategically preparing for a future where the Church's center of gravity shifts away from Europe and towards emerging Catholic strongholds. The relationship between Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle is not merely administrative. It is a profound alliance forged through their shared struggles and triumphs. Both leaders have faced resistance from traditionalist factions within the Church, criticism from those who believe their progressive approaches dilute centuries-old doctrines. However, instead of retreating, they have doubled down on their vision of a church rooted in love, humility, and action. They champion compassion over rigid doctrine, dialogue over division, and service over rhetoric. These principles have not only defined their leadership styles, but have also earned them admiration from millions worldwide. One of the most poignant examples of Tagle's leadership came in 2013 during Typhoon Haiyan, one of the most devastating natural disasters in modern history. As the Archbishop of Manila, Tagle did not just issue statements of solidarity. He was physically present, standing alongside victims, offering aid, and embodying the Church's mission of mercy. His actions reflected the very essence of Pope Francis' vision, a leader who leads not from behind a pulpit, but from the streets, among the people. What does this mean for the future of the Catholic Church? Pope Francis' decision to highlight Cardinal Tagle at this critical juncture is more than just an acknowledgement. It is a statement of intent. The Vatican is preparing for a new era, one that prioritizes engagement with the modern world, inclusivity, and a redefined approach to evangelization. The implications of this revelation are vast. Could Tagle be positioned as a future pope, one who carries forward Francis' progressive legacy? Is this a signal that the Church's power dynamics are shifting towards a more global representation, moving away from its traditionally European-centric leadership. One thing is certain: the Catholic Church is on the brink of transformation, and Cardinal Luis Tagle stands at the center of it. The world watches as history unfolds, and the Vatican's next moves could change the course of the Church for generations to come. The quick response of Cardinal Luis Tagle during crises, coupled with his deep compassion, has solidified his image as a leader of the Church of Mercy, a vision Pope Francis has consistently championed. Beyond his charitable endeavors, Tagle's theological expertise, particularly his inclusive approach to evangelization, has positioned him as a role model for liberal Catholics worldwide. As Pope Francis has frequently emphasized, church leadership cannot remain isolated within the clerical hierarchy. Rather, it must be a beacon of outreach to the forgotten and forsaken. Recently, Pope Francis has made comments that have reignited discussions about Tagle's role within the Vatican's power structure. While he has not explicitly outlined his long-term vision for the cardinal, the trajectory of their shared efforts suggests a carefully planned course. Could Tagle's path within the Church signal an impending shift in leadership and direction? Cardinal Luis Tagle's journey, from the streets of Manila to the halls of the Vatican, is nothing short of inspiring. Born in 1957 in the Philippines, Tagle has remained deeply connected to his community and dedicated to serving the poor. His remarkable intellect and spiritual depth were evident from childhood, leading him to pursue theology and eventually rise as one of the most influential figures in the Catholic Church. Tagle's leadership journey took a significant turn in 2011 when he was appointed Archbishop of Manila. This appointment was widely celebrated, particularly by overseas Filipino workers who saw in him a beacon of hope. Taking charge of one of the largest Catholic dioceses in the world, Tagle quickly established himself as a reformist. Unlike some past church leaders who succumbed to materialism and power, he remained devoted to the Church's core mission, serving the people, championing missionary work, and advocating for social justice. His sermons, known for their emotional depth and relatability, resonated with millions, earning him the moniker Asia's Francis. His rise to international prominence was further cemented by a series of key Vatican appointments, each amplifying his influence within the global Church. As the president of Caritas Internationalis, a Catholic charity operating in 165 countries, Tagle spearheaded initiatives against poverty, hunger, and climate change. His ability to bridge cultural and ideological divides within the Church has made him an indispensable figure in shaping its future. Cardinal Luis Tagle's appointment as the prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples in 2019 marked a significant turning point in his career. This position placed him at the heart of the Church's mission to spread the gospel across the world, particularly in non-Western regions such as Asia and Africa. Recognizing the importance of cultural diversity, Tagle actively participated in reshaping the Church's evangelization strategies to better resonate with these communities. His ability to adapt and innovate has made him a central figure in the Vatican's efforts to engage with a rapidly changing global landscape. But what does such rising popularity mean for Tagle's future? His ability to mobilize people, coupled with his diplomatic acumen and theological expertise, has positioned him as a leader capable of navigating the complexities facing the modern Church. As his influence continues to grow within the Vatican, speculation abounds. Could he take on an even greater role? Could he, perhaps, be a future candidate for the papacy? And if so, what kind of church would he lead? A church for the margins. Under Pope Francis's leadership, the Catholic Church has shifted its focus toward those on the margins, often described as a church for the poor. This vision has found a strong ally in Cardinal Luis Tagle, who shares Francis's commitment to justice, kindness, and compassion. Together, they have redefined the Church's role in addressing social inequalities and advocating for the most vulnerable. Pope Francis believes that the Church should be a sanctuary for the outcasts, not an institution of exclusivity. Tagle has embodied this belief through his leadership at Caritas Internationalis, where he has overseen global anti-hunger campaigns, provided shelter to refugees, and addressed the pressing challenges of climate change. His ability to mobilize resources and inspire action has cemented his reputation as a key player in the Church's charitable initiatives. One of Tagle's defining qualities is his emphasis on listening. He believes that true leadership begins with understanding the voices of those often unheard. If you listen, you dispose yourself to love, and those who love will not grow tired of listening, he has often remarked. Unlike traditional hierarchical models of church authority, Tagle champions a more inclusive and conversational approach, ensuring that those on the peripheries are not just acknowledged, but actively engaged in shaping the future of the church. Nevertheless, the focus on the margins is not without its challenges. Some critics argue that prioritizing social causes over doctrine risks diluting the church's theological foundations. Detractors claim that Pope Francis and his allies, including Cardinal Tagle, are shifting too much toward political correctness at the expense of traditional Catholic values. However, both Francis and Tagle remain steadfast in their approach, recognizing that if the Church does not engage with pressing contemporary issues, it risks becoming irrelevant in an ever-changing world. Beyond humanitarian efforts, Tagle plays a crucial role in advancing the Pope's broader vision. His commitment to fostering interfaith dialogue underscores the Church's determination to cultivate harmony in an increasingly polarized society. By engaging in meaningful discussions with leaders of other faiths, Tagle promotes tolerance and unity, echoing Pope Francis's central message of inclusivity and compassion. Through their shared vision, both leaders are working to bring the Church into direct contact with people, shaping a modern Catholicism that is evolving before our eyes. Could this emphasis on the marginalized signify a new understanding of the Church's mission in the face of rapid societal transformation? Yet, behind the pious expressions and outward solidarity, a silent tug-of-war brews within the Vatican. The Roman Catholic Church has always been a battleground for ideological struggles, balancing tradition with the demands of a postmodern world. Within the corridors of the Vatican, where sacred tradition meets contemporary pressures, these tensions manifest in debates over the Church's future direction. As Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle push forward with their vision, the question remains: will the Church embrace this shift, or will the forces of tradition resist the tides of change? The ongoing battle. The daily battles between reformists like Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle, and the conservatives within the Church, provide a fascinating drama of unspoken struggles. Pope Francis has ushered in a wave of reformative changes during his papacy, openly rebuking clericalism, advocating for a more decentralized church, and tackling sensitive issues such as migration, climate change, and economic transparency. His leadership signals a major shift from traditional structures, challenging long-standing norms within the Catholic Church. Issuing a stark warning, the head of the Catholic Church and sovereign of the Vatican City has emphasized the urgent need for action against climate change. According to Pope Francis, if concrete measures are not taken, Earth will become uninhabitable. His call for environmental responsibility aligns with his broader vision of a church that actively addresses real-world concerns. However, such initiatives have not been without opposition. Pope Francis's reformist efforts have met formidable resistance from ultra-conservative groups within the Church. Many traditionalists view these changes as a radical departure from the core teachings of the Bible and a dilution of Catholic values. Critics argue that prioritizing social justice issues, interfaith dialogue, and environmental advocacy shifts focus away from traditional doctrine. The resistance from these factions underscores the deep ideological rift within the Vatican. Cardinal Tagle's active role in the Vatican embodies this ongoing power struggle. While his leadership perfectly aligns with Pope Francis's vision of a merciful and inclusive church, his rapid ascent within the Vatican hierarchy has not been met with universal approval. His management style, centered on dialogue, inclusivity, and compassion, contradicts the more rigid, hierarchical traditions upheld by conservative elements of the Church. This contrast has led to both heightened expectations for his future and increased scrutiny of his every move. One of the most contentious battlegrounds in this ideological war is financial supervision. Pope Francis has launched sweeping efforts to reform the Vatican's financial institutions, bringing transparency and accountability to an area long shrouded in secrecy. These efforts have sparked controversy, particularly among those who benefited from the opaque financial dealings of the past. Cardinal Tagle's involvement in charitable activities and financial oversight places him at the center of these debates, as he supports the Pope's mission to rid the Church of corruption. As the power struggle within the Vatican continues, the role of figures like Cardinal Tagle becomes increasingly significant. Could he be the leader to carry Pope Francis's reformist legacy forward? And if so, what challenges will he face in navigating the deep divisions within the Church? The future of Catholicism may very well hinge on the outcome of these battles, determining whether the Church will continue its march toward modernization or revert to its more traditional roots. The role of Cardinal Tagle in Church reforms. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle has emerged as one of the most influential figures in the Catholic Church, aligning closely with Pope Francis's reformative vision. His unwavering commitment to transparency, dialogue, and social justice has made him both a revered leader and a controversial figure. As a strong advocate for greater disclosure and financial integrity, Tagle has supported Pope Francis's initiatives to modernize the Vatican's administrative and financial structures. However, these efforts have not come without resistance, particularly from entrenched power groups within the Church who seek to protect their interests. Despite his dedication to reform, Tagle has faced significant opposition from conservative factions wary of change. The power struggle within the Vatican is not merely a theological debate, but a battle over influence, tradition, and the future direction of the Church. His advocacy for accountability and a Church that prioritizes the marginalized has placed him at odds with those who prefer to maintain the status quo. These tensions are not confined to Rome alone. They extend to dioceses worldwide, where local church leaders grapple with the balance between traditionalist expectations and the push for reform. The question of papal succession. One of the most compelling aspects of Tagle's rise in prominence is the speculation surrounding his potential as a future pope. While Pope Francis has not explicitly indicated a preference for a successor, the increased visibility of Tagle suggests that he is being positioned as a key player in the Church's future. His deep theological insight, inclusive evangelization, and diplomatic approach to interfaith relations make him a formidable candidate. However, his alignment with Pope Francis's progressive stance means that his potential papacy would likely face strong opposition from conservative factions who aim to steer the Church in a different direction. The Catholic Church stands at a crossroads, torn between preserving its centuries-old traditions and adapting to the demands of the modern world. The division between reformists and traditionalists has never been more apparent, with debates over clericalism, social justice, economic transparency, and climate change dominating church discourse. The question remains, will the Church continue on its path of transformation under leaders like Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle, or will it revert to a more rigid and hierarchical structure? These internal struggles within the Vatican resonate far beyond Rome, affecting how Catholic leaders worldwide approach contemporary issues. Many dioceses are experiencing similar divisions, with some bishops embracing reform while others resist change. As the Church navigates the challenges of the 21st century, ranging from declining membership in the West to the need for greater engagement in the global South, leaders like Tagle will play a crucial role in shaping its future. Cardinal Luis Tagle's journey is far from over. His ascent within the Church, despite resistance, demonstrates his resilience and commitment to Pope Francis's mission of a more inclusive, transparent, and socially conscious Catholic Church. Whether he ultimately ascends to the papacy or continues to serve in a leading role, his influence will undoubtedly shape the Church's trajectory in the years to come. The battle for the Church's future is ongoing, and figures like Tagle will be instrumental in determining whether it remains a beacon of hope for the marginalized or retreats into the safety of tradition. A champion of the marginalized Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle has emerged as a beacon of hope for progressive Catholics worldwide, particularly for those who seek a Church that prioritizes compassion, social justice, and human rights. He is a staunch defender of the poor and marginalized, a voice for immigrants, and a champion for the oppressed in his native Philippines. His leadership, however, comes at a time of both internal and external challenges within the Catholic Church, as ideological divisions threaten to shape its future trajectory. One of Tagle's greatest strengths lies in his ability to engage with people from all walks of life. Whether delivering a sermon in Manila or representing the Pope in diplomatic meetings, he remains humble and deeply connected with the faithful. His leadership style starkly contrasts with the rigid institutionalism that has long characterized the Church. Rather than reinforcing hierarchical dominance, he champions an open, dynamic, and moving faith, positioning himself as a revolutionary within modern Catholicism. Despite his rising influence, Tagle's legacy is being forged amidst considerable volatility. While the Catholic Church experiences a steady decline in the number of priests and religious representatives in Europe and North America, its congregations in Asia and Africa continue to grow. This demographic shift presents both an opportunity and a challenge. On one hand, it strengthens the Church's global reach. On the other, it complicates the task of serving an increasingly diverse and heterogeneous flock. Tagle, however, has demonstrated cultural sensitivity and an ability to navigate these complexities, making him uniquely suited to address the needs of the evolving Church. A defining feature of Tagle's approach is his ability to integrate Catholic tradition with contemporary reforms. He remains deeply rooted in theological orthodoxy, while also embracing the need for the Church to remain relevant in a rapidly changing world. This balance makes him a compelling figure among both progressives and moderate conservatives within the Vatican. His role as prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples further cements his place as a key architect of the Church's future, particularly in the non-Western world. The silent battle. Within the Church, Tagle's rise within the Vatican has not been without resistance. The Church is currently witnessing a silent but fierce power struggle between reformists like Pope Francis and Tagle, and the conservative factions that wish to preserve traditional Catholic values. Pope Francis's call for a decentralized Church that prioritizes social justice, climate action, and economic transparency has met significant opposition from ultra-conservative groups. These factions see such reforms as a radical departure from the divine traditions of the Church. As a close ally of Pope Francis, Tagle embodies this reformist vision. However, his leadership style, centered on dialogue, participation, and outreach to the peripheries, contradicts the more authoritarian approach favored by traditionalists. His advocacy for greater financial transparency within Vatican institutions has also made him a target of resistance from entrenched power groups. Though Pope Francis has not explicitly indicated a successor, the increasing visibility of Tagle suggests he is among the figures being considered for a higher role within the Church. If elected, Tagle would represent a historic shift. He would be the first Asian pope and a leader deeply attuned to the needs of the global South. His leadership would likely continue Francis's vision of a Church that is more compassionate, outward-looking, and engaged in global issues. However, such a shift would undoubtedly face significant opposition from conservative factions determined to maintain the status quo. The global impact of Tagle's leadership. Tagle's influence extends beyond the Vatican. As president of Caritas Internationalis, he has played a crucial role in humanitarian efforts, overseeing anti-hunger campaigns, refugee assistance, and initiatives to combat climate change. His ability to mobilize resources and negotiate in complex political landscapes has solidified his reputation as a key player in the Church's charitable mission. More than just a theologian, he is a humanitarian leader who seeks to bridge divides and foster unity in an increasingly polarized world. Cardinal Luis Tagle has emerged as a significant figure within the Catholic Church, taking on crucial roles that intertwine faith with global issues such as interfaith dialogue and climate change. His efforts to address these concerns, especially within the context of the ongoing climate change discussions, reflect his progressive stance. At the 2015 Paris Climate Conference, he emphasized the principles of fairness and equity, both of which are vital in tackling the social justice issues linked to climate change. His advocacy for these values signals a man who is eager to work with modernity, demonstrating the Church's potential to engage with global challenges in ways that align with Catholic social teachings. However, this approach has not been without its critics. Conservative factions within the Church have voiced their concerns, accusing Cardinal Tagle of moving away from traditional doctrinal matters. This tension highlights the broader conflict within the Catholic Church today, where the Church's evolving role in modern society is at odds with more conservative elements that seek to preserve traditional teachings. How Tagle navigates these competing demands will be a critical factor in defining his legacy. The ongoing changes within the Church ensure that the issue of leadership remains paramount, and it will be interesting to see whether Tagle's influence can withstand these internal divisions. As the Catholic Church continues to face challenges in maintaining unity while adapting to modern realities, the question of leadership becomes even more pressing. Pope Francis has initiated positive changes during his papacy, but these efforts require continuity beyond his tenure. The good work that began under Pope Francis must be sustained by future leaders who will carry forward the mission of the Church. Cardinal Tagle's loyalty to Pope Francis, combined with his influence within the Vatican, positions him as a key player in shaping the Church's future. Yet, the question remains: will Tagle's progressive vision have the support of a vast, often polarized global Catholic community? While Tagle's reforms and approach to leadership have garnered significant attention, his legacy is still unfolding. His ability to engage with the modern world while staying true to the core values of Catholicism will be critical in defining his place in history. For Tagle, the challenges are substantial, as he leads within an institution that is deeply rooted in tradition, but also confronting a rapidly changing world. Maintaining order within the Church while embracing modernity is no easy task, and it remains to be seen whether Tagle's stewardship will bring about a new era for the Church, one that is focused on healing, welcome, and revival. Tagle's rivals for the papacy. Among the potential successors to Pope Francis, one name that stands out as a formidable rival to Cardinal Tagle is Cardinal Pietro Parolin. As the Vatican's Secretary of State, Parolin holds one of the highest-ranking positions in the Church, overseeing its diplomacy and international relations. His extensive experience in diplomacy and his conservative views position him as a strong contender for the papacy. Unlike Tagle, who is known for his pastoral and reformist approach, Parolin's background in political and diplomatic affairs places him in a unique position to navigate the complex global landscape that the Vatican must contend with. Parolin's Italian roots also ground him in the heart of the Catholic Church, which has historically been centered in Italy. This connection gives him a closer link to the Church's traditional core, particularly in terms of managing the challenges posed by modern societal changes. While Cardinal Tagle is seen as someone who reaches out to the Church's peripheries and emphasizes inclusivity, Parolin is viewed as a mastermind of the Church's hierarchical structure. His respect among traditionalists stems from his work as Secretary of State, where he skillfully maneuvered through the Church's intricate geopolitical relations, maintaining influence across the globe. The ongoing developments within the Catholic Church are poised to shape its future in profound ways. Cardinal Tagle and Cardinal Parolin represent two very different approaches to leadership, each with its own set of challenges and opportunities. While Tagle's focus on social justice and reform resonates with those advocating for a more inclusive, compassionate Church, Parolin's traditionalist approach appeals to those who seek to preserve the Church's doctrines and hierarchy. As the Vatican continues to navigate the complexities of modernity, the question of who will lead the Church in the future remains uncertain. But one thing is clear: the legacy of the next pope will be crucial in determining the direction of the Catholic Church for generations to come. A bridge between two worlds, Cardinal Luis Tagle has played a pivotal role in mediating internal divisions within the Catholic Church. As a bridge builder, he has carefully navigated both progressive and conservative factions, attempting to find middle ground solutions rather than taking radical stances. His leadership style embraces dialogue and consensus, making him a favorite among those who advocate for gradual change rather than sweeping reforms. However, his critics argue that his centrist approach is not bold enough to tackle the monumental challenges the Church faces in an era of global transformation. With increasing debates over social justice, inclusivity, and modernity, some believe that Tagle's leadership lacks the visionary push needed to carry the Catholic Church into a new age. The contrast between Cardinal Tagle and Cardinal Pietro Parolin highlights the ideological struggle within the Church. While Tagle champions forward-thinking leadership, inclusion, and people-centered reforms, Parolin represents the traditional Vatican administration with a strong diplomatic and bureaucratic background. Parolin, currently serving as the Vatican Secretary of State, has been instrumental in shaping the Church's geopolitical strategy. His deep ties to the Vatican's hierarchical structure and his conservative leanings have made him a respected figure among traditionalists. Unlike Tagle, who is seen as a champion of the marginalized, Parolin operates within the highest echelons of the Church, reinforcing its centuries-old governance model. This ideological battle extends beyond Tagle and Parolin. It reflects the broader struggle within the Church about the direction it should take in the coming decades. Will the Catholic Church continue Pope Francis's reformist vision, bringing the Church closer to the people? Or will it revert to a more conservative, structured hierarchy that maintains its long-standing traditions? Historically, the papacy has been dominated by European leadership, particularly Italians. While Pope Francis's election broke this trend, Parolin's candidacy signals a possible return to Vatican-centric leadership. This raises a fundamental question. Will the next pope come from the grassroots, embodying a global and inclusive approach, or from the institutional core, ensuring continuity in governance? Who do you believe is the best choice for the papacy? Should the Church continue with Pope Francis's progressive reforms under a leader like Tagle, or should it return to a more traditional governance model with a candidate like Parolin? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.